I bought this former police motorcycle several years ago. Overall, it has been a fantastic bike. There was just one problem. Whenever I practiced slow speed cone patterns or rode at walking pace for several minutes, the engine would gradually overheat. The first thing I did was search YouTube for this problem. I couldn't find a single video showing how to diagnose it, so I decided to make one. I spoke with several riders and mechanics, but no one could give me a convincing explanation. Most simply told me that oil-cooled R1200RTs have a tendency to overheat in slow traffic. However, it seemed to me that mine was worse than normal. The problem symptoms first appeared after about 10 minutes of very slow riding, such as practicing slow speed cone patterns. The temperature gauge climbed past the 3-quarter mark. The cooling fan switched on, but had little effect. The engine became noticeably noisier. Restarting the hot engine became difficult. Even after returning to highway speeds, the engine took a long time to cool down. Before troubleshooting, it helps to understand how the oil cooling system works. Let's start with the basics. Oil leaves the upper right side of the engine, flows through the oil cooler, then returns to the lower left side of the crankcase. However, this only happens after the oil thermostat opens. On this engine, the thermostat begins to open at approximately 95 degrees Celsius or 203 degrees Fahrenheit. BMW calls the thermostat the expanding element. Unlike most thermostats, it is hidden inside the engine block and cannot be seen once installed. Inside the thermostat is a special wax. As the oil temperature reaches 95 degrees Celsius, the wax expands. This expansion pushes on a fixed pin. Since the pin cannot move, the thermostat itself moves backward against the spring. That movement opens the oil passage and allows hot oil to flow through the oil cooler. This cross-sectional drawing shows where the expanding element is located inside the engine. Once installed, it is completely hidden from view. With the temperature gauge well above normal and the cooling fan running, I started taking temperature measurements with an infrared thermometer. The cylinder head measured approximately 219 degrees Fahrenheit. Although the engine was extremely hot, the oil cooler fins remained at ambient temperature. I then checked the temperature of the oil cooler hoses. Comparing the inlet and outlet temperatures is a quick way to determine whether hot oil is actually circulating through the cooler. My original plan was to disconnect one of the hoses and blow compressed air through the cooler. However, after seeing how difficult the hose fittings were to remove, I decided it would be easier to disconnect the lines at the engine instead. The return line is easy to remove. A standard socket and ratchet are all that's needed. Be careful not to lose the copper washer behind the line coupling. The upper oil line is much more difficult. There is very little room to work. Using a Torx Allen key, I had to loosen the screw just a small amount at a time. The second screw is even more challenging. The combination that worked best for me was a Torx socket and a box end wrench. To avoid damaging anything, I simply blew through the oil passage by mouth. Oil flowed freely from the opposite side, and I could easily blow air through the entire circuit. This confirmed that both the oil cooler and the oil lines were completely clear. With the cooler eliminated as the cause, my attention turned to the thermostat. At this stage, I was still exploring. Notice the orange residue around the thermostat housing. At first, I didn't know what it was. After further testing, I believe it was wax that had leaked from the expanding element. The slotted disc in the expanding element can be removed using a pair of long, curved needle nose pliers. Before ordering a replacement, I wanted proof that the thermostat had actually failed. I immersed it in mineral oil and slowly heated it while monitoring the temperature. The expanding element failed to operate correctly. That confirmed the thermostat was defective. Fortunately, a BMW dealership a few hours away had the replacement thermostat in stock. That saved me from waiting several weeks for one to arrive from Germany. The drive was long, but it was worth it. Installing the new thermostat is simply the reverse of removal. With everything reassembled, it was time for the real test. The difference was immediate. If your R1200RT or R1200RTP overheats only during prolonged slow-speed riding, don't overlook the oil thermostat. Hopefully this video helps save you some time, money, and frustration. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It helps other BMW owners find this information